got it over here, Marty. Hello, Seaside Shadows. It is Courtney and Marty here. Sorry, it took us a moment to figure out that we were live. I was looking at another screen and you were probably looking at me. So hello and welcome to this wonderful Monday evening. If you are here in Connecticut, then odds are you have been experiencing some very windy weather today. It's been a bit spooky and eerie, and even closed some of the doors in my house when the wind was whipping through it. So I was getting a little bit scared. Marty told me he didn't notice anything at work today. So I guess it's just me that gets spooked by the wind. But hopefully you guys are having a great evening. It is just going to be Courtney and Marty tonight. If you don't know Marty, you know him without realizing you know him. You know him for a variety of reasons. Number one, if you've been on a tour with me, you've probably seen him holding a lantern in the back and walking with the group and telling passerbys what we're doing when they have a curious question. And he is my husband and our security person. So you may have seen him live and in person. And he also has a lot of expertise in ghost photos after all these years of doing it. So he'll be the one that shows you ghost pictures. And we always tease him because whenever there's a good review at Seaside Shadows, even though Marty does not give the tour, he always gets mentioned in the reviews. So he is a fan favorite if you have seen him live and in person. If you are only familiar with our virtual segments, he's there for every single one of them because somebody has to tape them and deal with all of the audio issues and video issues and us trying to start things over again and get things right. And Marty is ever so patient with us and listens to the stories time and time again until we get them right for you. So that's Marty right here. And he, yeah. So he's been here for the last 3 segments that we are going to go over tonight. So we're going to go over our most recent Witchy Wednesday, which you may have been reminded of yesterday, which was our series on Ostara or Ostara. Some might call it just Ostra, after the goddess herself. And all of this, of course, leads to Easter. So if you had Easter celebrations yesterday, you can kind of thank some of our pagan ancestors for their Ostara traditions, which we talked about on Witchy Wednesday. We also had a really interesting cemetery Saturday where we went down to Bridgeport, Connecticut, to a cemetery designed by P.T. Barnum, the greatest showman himself, where he himself is buried, of course, in a cemetery of his own design. And we're able to talk a bit about his burial and also about his life and some really remarkable and shocking information in regards to him as an individual. And then we had a fantastic Spooky Story Sunday on last week's full moon, where we talked about some werewolf traditions, the originations of the werewolf in both Norse and Greek mythologies, but also in Native American legends right here on this continent as well. So we'll go over a little bit of that this evening with you guys. But we also wanted to talk about the fact that we are back up and running with our tours. So while we're chatting with you guys about that, please feel free at any point. I'm going to do my best to keep an eye on the comment section here. If you have any questions regarding Seaside Shadows in Mystic, Seaside Shadows tours coming up, or any of the segments I just mentioned, feel free to shoot us a question and we'll do our best to answer them for you. So at Seaside Shadows, in addition to these lovely segments, we've been super busy, right, Marty?
Yeah. Super busy.
Super busy. Marty's the calm one. I'm the anxious one. So he doesn't want to get too anxious. So he just goes, yeah, really busy. Yeah. So it's been a start to the season started less than a month ago. We started about 4 weeks ago, 3.5 to 4 weeks ago. We started on March 14th, our first tour of the season. And thanks to brave people that are not caring if it's 20 degrees at night or a little bit rainy or a few snowflakes in the air here in New England, they made March, a really successful month to come back out and start getting in our spooky vibe and welcoming spring. We went through daylight savings shortly after we reopened, so our tours are a little bit dusky when you first arrive, but nice and dark still when you take the tour. And we just expanded our schedule. So in March, we really were only doing 2 nights a week, just a little warm up for the season. And now we are out 4 nights a week. Starting this week, it will be all 4 nights. And then in June, we're going to be out at least 6 nights a week, at least once a night on those nights, if not more. So that's very exciting. And also this month, we are bringing back our Elm Grove Haunted History tours. We're very, very excited about that.
First one's on Saturday.
Yes. Yeah. First one's this Saturday, April 10th at 4 p.m. in Mystic.
If anybody else has been keeping up on our updates, we did hire 2 more guides, and you should see them on the tours and maybe soon on the video segments.
Yes. So that's another exciting announcement. So to finish up on Elm Grove, 4 o'clock today, 4 o'clock Saturday will be our first Elm Grove Haunted History tour of the season. Now you'll be looking at the calendar going, hey, Courtney, why aren't there more dates? The good folks at Elm Grove are just reviewing our calendar. We have a full calendar set up with 2 days a month. They are going to be able to get together and make sure all those dates are cohesive with everything they need to do as far as maintaining and caring for the cemetery and the grounds. It is still an active cemetery, so they really need to make sure that our tours in the historic section are at convenient times for those who are using the other section. So we will be announcing the rest of our Elm Grove schedule later on this month, and there will be a second Elm Grove Haunted History Tour in April, and then we'll have 2 a month, hopefully going right through the end of the year. Now, this tour was one that debuted last year. It is one that is given usually by both Andrew and myself, though sometimes it might be just one of us. We like to do that one together. Actually, all 3 of us worked on it together, finding information and putting the map together of what we were doing and all that sort of fun stuff. It is a little bit different than our other Mystic Graveyard tour in the sense of the time era we're working in here at Elm Grove. Was established in 1854 versus the 1650s at our other cemetery tour. So it's a lot of talk about Victorian era, Victorian death practices, some of the awful things that happened in the 1800s. You also get to meet some of the ship builders and sea merchants and sea captains of Mystic. And we talk a lot about the Civil War and soldiers, and there's even a little true crime in there as well.
Yep.
So
we also give a story on World War I.
Yeah.
Wars, so.
We'll bring you right up to World War I in that tour. And we touch a little bit on War of 1812 as well.
Yeah,
So it's a really interesting tour, different than either our downtown or Mystic Graveyard tours. So if you've already gone on those, this is a whole new adventure for you. If you haven't gone on the other 2, we have been working on some new content for those, really developing them to such a fun route, but also getting spookier by the year. So our downtown Mystic ghost tours and our Mystic Graveyard ghost tours are still at the heart of everything, and they are running as well. So please visit our calendar, and you'll also be able to keep up with us now on social media. We have a Facebook page. We're talking about bringing back some water tours via some sort of vessel, be it a kayak or a boat, or both. A lot of folks have asked if our boat tours are coming back. Yes. So right now, due to COVID limitations, we determined that, as lovely as it is to have the boat tours, having them not be able to go to full capacity and really do all of the events we want to do is something, you know, that's a little bit difficult to work around. So we are going to bring back our boat tours, Epidemics Through the Centuries, this year. That is going to, at this point in time, come back this summer, probably in August. If restrictions get better, if cases get better and things change in Connecticut, we can always talk about bringing them back earlier in the summer. But right now, our Shoreline Epidemics Tour is going to run in August, September, and October. And do we already have those tickets up, Marty?
I believe we have the epidemic ones where I haven't posted any for the.
Oh, I haven't announced it. I haven't announced it. They don't know. Marty's a terrible secret keeper, you guys. Like, absolutely the worst. So we are going to do a boat tour in Mystic this October called Wicked Waters of Mystic. It's going to be on the same boat, the water taxi that we've been running our Shoreline Epidemics Tour on. This will be a one-day only event, but there will be a couple times that day to take the Wicked Waters of Mystic boat tour, and that will be in October, close to Halloween. So we will have Shoreline Epidemics coming back in August, September, and October in New London, and we will have our Wicked Waters of Mystic coming this October. We may also have some haunted kayak tours coming up, as Marty mentioned. So very exciting on all those fronts. And we also, Marty and I are going up to Salem, Massachusetts in a few weeks to get some new footage, some new content, and get some virtual tours ready for you guys. The virtual tours of Salem are available online, as are the Shoreline Epidemics. The Wicked Waters of Mystic boat tours aren't online yet, but the Salem virtual tours that you can sign up for are available, and we are going to make them commemorative tours. They're going to take place on the anniversary of the executions in Salem. So accepting the pressing to death of Giles Corey. All of the deaths were hangings, and so they will be on the anniversaries of the hangings. So there will be a virtual Salem tour in June, July, August, and September. And we're going to make sure that we honor the tales of those who were executed, as well as some of the other fascinating history of Salem. So you can take a look online and start registering for those as well. And we're not doing them. We are doing them live, but we're not doing them live. So to like kind of explain that is we're going to be filming a lot of footage live and in person, Marty and I. And then we're also going to be going places that we can't get to on foot on our Salem walking tour to get you some additional footage, like some insider information. And then we're going to be compiling it together so that you can have this really fluid tour with no technical glitches that can happen when you're live on foot for 2 hours in an area filled with ghosts. But we will be interacting with everyone live who's watching what we have filmed, so that we can still answer your questions and be live and in person with you. So we'll be filmed live and we'll be with you live, if that makes sense. What else am I forgetting, Marty? We've got Elm Grove. We've got the boat tours. And remember, just one of the boat tours is up, the virtual Salem tours. I also let some folks know that this Labor Day weekend, we will be doing a tour called Spiritual Journey of Civil War Battlefields. And we're pairing up with Mysterious Adventures Tours for this. They have not yet released the tickets, but that should be happening soon. I can tell you it will be Labor Day weekend from, I believe, the Thursday before right through till the Monday. And we will be going to Chancellorsville, Antietam, Harper's Ferry, and of course Gettysburg for 2 nights. And so this will include tours of the battlefields, your lodging. We're going to find some fantastic spooky places to eat. So keep Labor Day weekend open for some Civil War haunts. This will coincide with my new book, Civil War Ghosts of Connecticut, which will be the first in what, hoping to be a series where we talk about a variety of states, but Civil War Ghosts of Connecticut will be coming out this fall. We did announce that before, but we had a few changes, and we are now going to be working with Haunted Road Media, which we are so excited about for the launch of this book. So please stay tuned for details on that as well. And for our friends at Mysterious Adventures, you may recognize that name. We will be doing our Ireland tours with them. And that is booking now for April 2022. There are very limited spots, so make sure you secure those. You can do so with a minimal deposit. There's some videos online that show you everywhere we're going to go. It will be a lot focused on battlefields and rebel history, but we've also made sure some of your favorite Irish things are included in there as well. Some things that, we know that you don't want to leave Ireland without seeing. So make sure you check that out. All that information is on our website. We also will be in Gettysburg once more this year. If you want to go back to the battlefield twice, we will be there in June at a conference with some lovely other people. Phenomenology. I'm probably saying it wrong, but if you look it up, you're going to see all the fantastic folks that are going to be there. John Zaffis is going to be there. Jeff Belanger. It's just fantastic speakers and presenters at this event from the paranormal world. And I will be there filled with information for you guys on where you are. So make sure that you check out that event as well. Am I forgetting anything? I feel like there's so much. See, I told you we've been so busy.
I think that's it for about
I'm like out of breath thinking about it.
At this moment, I think that's everything we have planned so far.
So we're always working on things.
There's always more to do.
We're always working on things. And as Marty slyly mentioned in there while I was still going to town on talking to you about Elm Grove, is we do have some new team members with us. So we want you first to know that our social media is getting consistently updated now, and we'll have lots of updates for you. And one of the reasons that it's getting so updated and we're able to share so much with you is because a lovely young lady named Riley Ward has joined our team at Seaside Shadows, and she is making sure she takes all the spooky historical content that she can possibly take in and make sure that it's provided to you. So if you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, she's making sure that she's interacting with you and can answer any questions that you have and making sure you have all of this content. And she has just formed for us a TikTok channel so we can, fully be immersed in the year 2021. And if you could follow us on TikTok at Seaside Shadows, we would be so appreciative. And Riley will be making sure that you not only get the videos we're talking about here on there, but we're going to be going to some paranormal locations that are known to be haunted, maybe some cool places with lore, and getting a little footage and putting it on our TikTok. And that's something you won't get anywhere else. So make sure to follow us on there. Say hello to Riley, give her a big welcome. There's some information on our team page about her. And we are so thrilled to have her on our team. And yes.
Yeah, there's actually one more thing I know we're going to be doing more of, and we haven't. You guys have probably noticed a little bit that we haven't really recorded any of our, except for one, any of our investigating
sessions or paranormal investigations.
Yeah, any of our paranormal investigating on video or anything like that. But you guys are going to start seeing more of that. We usually just keep it pretty private because we don't really know what we're going to get. But since we switched up the video segments to not being live, and we're just going to be doing more and giving you the best videos we can give you.
Yes, so. And Riley is to thank for that as well. So Marty's taking the footage, which is no small feat. Riley is making it look good and editing it for us. So, kudos to her on that as well. We can't speak enough about how grateful we are for Riley to be on our team. And she's going to make sure that you guys are getting, all this fantastic content. What else? What am I forgetting? Oh, yes. Oh, yes. So you saw a post about this. So it's not too big of a spoiler or anything, but our team is integral to everything we do. So we at Seaside Shadows have a very unique mission to spread history and mystery of our region and the regions that we've come to know and love through our studies and research and visits. And we really care about delivering to you information such as lore and your ancestors and mythology, all the way to the true facts, the people who walked this earth before you. What did they bring? What did they do? And how are these hauntings coming to be? And that is at the heart of what we started in Mystic when we started our Downtown Mystic Ghost Tour, just me and Marty in 2013. And then over the years, we added the Graveyard Tour, and it was still just me and Marty. And I was working on the books, you know, and a few other people started to help us as we got into it, you know, as both tours were developed. And then, you know, it became clear to us that we have so much that we want to do in regards to making sure that you guys have these tours and this information and this entertainment and education, all of it,
The way we do it.
you know, in our Seaside Shadows fashion. And we started to dream of all of the things that we could do, the tours we could give, the events we could provide. And we are working on another event with John Zaffis, wink, wink. So speaking of events, but all of these fun things, we started to think, oh my gosh, there's so much we can do, but we can't do it alone. So we knew that we had to grow our Seaside Shadows team. And one of the probably greatest assets that Seaside Shadows has ever acquired is Andrew. And you guys have been watching him in these video segments for the last year. He is our lead tour guide. He is out talking with all of you folks, and he is just absolutely fantastic. And we are grateful every day for Andrew to be on our team, and he fits the mission. He's over 6 foot tall, wears the top hat, you can't miss him. And he's a great friend and a great asset to Seaside Shadows. And with him, we were able to start even thinking more outside the box and even more about what we could do. And then Andrew's ideas started coming into play. And we said, oh my gosh, we need to increase our team even more so that we can do all of these things. And I have this deep desire to keep writing books, by the way, and which I have learned when I put myself under pressure is very scary. So I need more time. So when we all talked about the books and the tours that we want to provide, we said, you know, we need some people that are going to fit our vibe and that can be part of the Seaside Shadows family and make sure that you guys have the most memorable experience possible. So with that, we spent, what was it, like over 2 months hiring, looking, interviewing folks that fit our very niche vibe. And while we were doing this, we met many wonderful people, actually, like many wonderful people. But we met two, you know, that we thought just really fit our Seaside Shadows, you know, family really well. And their names are Evan Brown and Chris Jolliffe, and they are officially a part of our Seaside Shadows team. So if you've come on tours this year, you may have seen them, maybe in the background, you know, maybe just maybe even telling a story or two. They've been starting to join us on our tours, and they are almost through their training process. And we hope to have them out and having fun with you and teaching you so much this summer. They are a wealth of information. They've already been giving us more spooky content that we didn't even have already.
You'll definitely be seeing we'll probably be putting them on the video segments.
Yeah, you know, we want to get them nice and used to the tours before we throw them on here. But if you see Evan and Chris in Mystic, please give them a big welcome and a big hello. And we are so, so happy that they have joined our team as well. So that's another really big and exciting piece of information here at Seaside Shadows. So much growth happening, so many tours happening in Connecticut and on the East Coast and across the ocean. And we've also been doing some really fun podcasts as well. So a week or two ago, Andrew and I got to be guests on a wonderful podcast called Spirits and Chat with John and Matt. And they actually took our Seaside Shadows tour, and they loved, some of the stories. So we got to chat with them about the founding of Seaside Shadows and some ghost stories. And it was a really fun time, and you can listen to that on Spotify. And I also got to go on Andrea Perrin of the Conjuring Houses show. She was such a lovely hostess for me on A World Awakening. And she also has that, I believe, on YouTube right now. So you can go back and take a listen. And then I'm looking at my calendar. On April 21st, I will be on a podcast called Paranormal Experienced with a lovely lady who knows a lot about the paranormal and has been working in this industry for a while, named Kat Hobson. So be sure to tune in if you ever want a little more in-depth information on who we are and what we do on some of these podcasts. I was briefly on one of her earlier episodes for about 2 minutes, but there were a ton of technical glitches, so I won't even make you go back. But this one will be just about, our tours and things that we need to say. So that's, all very exciting as well. And we want you to know that you have all of these ways that you can interact with us and always celebrate history and mystery. We are passionate about those things, and we know we're not the only ones who are passionate about them. And it is a great honor for us to share in our interests with people like you. Now, we also do have a Patreon as well that you can subscribe to at any time. What that is just even more content for as little as $5 a month. We'll send you an exclusive spooky story directly to your inbox. Nothing that ever goes on YouTube for the public, but it's just for you. And this month, or this past month in March, I actually did some really spooky stuff about the true influences behind Freddy Krueger and Pennywise. So if that interests you, make sure you subscribe to our Patreon so you can get more content such as that. And there's a variety of other content on there. But with that, I'm just going to double check. I don't think I saw any questions on there yet. No one's yelling like, oh, listen to me, I have something to say. So that's a good thing. You can always just say hello too. We like that. With that, Marty and I will just go over a little bit about our recent segments. They were big ones. They were really big ones.
Pretty big.
We've been really thrilled about Ostara. That's actually been really popular.
Most popular videos to date.
Mm-hmm. We've been getting a lot of comments from some folks on YouTube and Instagram that have told us, wonderful things about the Ostara segment, that, how we explained the history of it and the traditions and ways you can celebrate was really helpful. And we want to thank everyone for letting us know that. We really made Witchy Wednesdays in sort of the idea that a lot of us are trying to come into an understanding of our spirituality and our ancestry, but we also want to understand how we connect with those things. So Witchy Wednesday was derived to let you folks know where some of these traditions that we're familiar with today come from, what cultures and stories influence them. But also, if you want to bring that back into your life, we like to kind of give you an activity or something that you can use that helps you to honor those traditions, be it, about herbs or celebrations. But I think my favorite ones are whenever we do something about the turning of the wheel, as they call it, the wheel of the year, which Ostara is that balance between dark and light. The day is equal of both. It's the spring equinox, the vernal equinox. It's something that, is a pretty big deal for all of us historically, especially if you're up north like us. You're coming out of a winter that's dreary, it's dark. And our ancestors really celebrated the changing of the seasons. So Ostara was great. We got to talk about the story of the hare and the egg, and bringing the egg as a gift to Ostara, and those celebrations. Because how many people say, where did the story of why do we have bunnies and
Yeah,
eggs at
why do we
Easter?
have-
Everyone says that. They're just like, we get, in the Christian tradition, it's
And why
the
do we have to paint them all the time?
yeah, the Christian tradition is the celebration of course, Jesus, waking up from the tomb, resurrecting from the dead. Marty always laughs at me for saying this, but I'm like, that's just an epic ghost story. I mean, I don't know.
It is.
It is. It's a ghost story, but
It's probably the most old ghost story in history.
but it's a ghost story.
It's a ghost story.
So we have this wonderful ghost story of, Jesus at Easter coming back from the dead and walking around in his spirit form and spooking some people and impressing others, which, that's typical ghost stuff right there.
What we do.
You guys are gonna kill me for this. You're like, how dare you? I just can't help myself. It's just true.
Yeah.
So that being said, nowhere in the story of the resurrection of Jesus, despite it being a ghost story, has anyone explained the rabbits and the eggs.
Painted eggs.
Why? So in our Ostara segment, we talk about, the goddess Ostara, the goddess of fertility and renewal and birth. And, she has this party at the springtime, and the rabbit, or the hare, as it were, doesn't know what they can bring. They have all of these eggs. They bring the eggs as an offering. The eggs as a meaning of new life and fertility is something that Ostara adopts. And then she even adopts so much love for it that she starts to, appear in some legends and mythologies as part rabbit. And that's why we have those feelings of fertility. And I mean, it even goes so far as to explain how a rabbit can actually get pregnant again while they're already pregnant. So, really embracing this fertile creature, but showing spring and new life. So that, of course, is an old Norse and pagan tradition, but in a variety of mythologies with Ostara, she's actually in. And then I always like Norse, but she's in a variety of them. Greeks and Romans, they all have an Ostra type. And we worship the turning of the wheel because of that spring. And there started to be Easter parades where people dressed up for Ostara. So when you think of Easter bonnet parades, a lot of it starts to really make sense. So our Ostara segment goes into that quite a bit. But Marnie, what did you help us prep for the Ostara segment? Do tell about the fun craft that you partook in for that evening.
I've never blown an egg in my entire life, but it was a very interesting process to learn how to blow an egg. Literally, but yeah.
So we, there was the tradition of you blow out the yolk of the egg so that it's an empty shell, one which realistically it doesn't go bad as fast, but two, or at all, but two, you can fill the egg instead with your manifestations and your offerings for Ostara, right? So to get these empty eggshells, we had to blow out eggs, as Marty mentioned, which is a tedious process. And some of you are probably laughing, going, yes, I've done that. And we explained the process in the video. And then we used natural dyes that we extracted from beets and cabbages and dyed the eggs naturally, because there would have been no food coloring and things like that would have helped. We did cheat a little with some vinegar and baking soda to make our natural dyes set.
Easier with the chemistry though.
Yeah. Careful how much baking soda and vinegar you put in the same bowl was a lesson that we also learned. But that's a fun segment, and we want to thank everybody that watched and really got some lessons from it that they found helpful as they embark on their spirituality path, honoring their pagan ancestors and gaining to an understanding of why we do the things we do. For me, I always love figuring things out and where things come from, and it just makes it that much more meaningful. So that was a really fun segment. And then the next one that we did was that one where we hauled our butts down to Bridgeport, Connecticut. And You know what was funny when we went down there? We had researched a lot about P.T. Barnum, and one of the things we realized is that he reminded us a lot of Samuel Colt, who you can see another fantastic session or segment about that Andrew did over last summer, I believe.
It was one of the first few that we did.
Summer or spring of last year. And Samuel Colt is buried in Hartford, and he was, quite a publicist and marketer, and of course the manufacturer of Colt firearms. And he was many things, but a businessman first and foremost, and did what he did for the almighty dollar. And when we started to read about P.T. Barnum, there was just so much that matched, including, sacrificing some moral good for ultimate success. Yeah, I'm trying to be. I was not there.
It's a little light. He's sacrificed a lot of money.
They were very Machiavellian, both of them. Any means justifies the end. And when we researched P.T. Barnum, we were, of course, displeased that it wasn't the Disney version we were provided by the indomitable Hugh Jackman.
Yes.
But such is reality, right? There's only one Hugh Jackman, and P.T. Barnum wasn't it. So, that makes sense at the end of the day. But when we got to the cemetery, I think what we found most shocking is this man who was such a show-off in so many ways. We saw these beautiful, ornate monuments and graves at Mountain Grove Cemetery.
Oh yeah, there's a lot there.
Mm-hmm. And we thought with certainty.
He'd be one up on the top of the hill, and huge. His is big, but it's not really overstated. Actually, it's one of the, I would say, one of the more common things that he's probably ever designed.
Very subdued, modest, humble. I mean, it's a large monument, but
besides
it's not
the size of it. But I mean, Colt's was much taller, and there was taller ones in the cemetery.
But to Colt's credit on that one, he didn't pick that. He was buried humbly at his home, Armsmere, and his wife sold Armsmere, so she moved all of them off the property, which not everyone moves the bodies when they move, right? So that's fine. But yeah, we were surprised, and actually Tom Thumb, who was his lead performer, who we thought was a grown man of diminutive size. We did not realize that it was a 4-year-old that P.T. Barnum took on and made do said tricks. But that being said, Tom Thumb is buried kind of diagonally across from P.T. Barnum at Mountain Grove Cemetery, and we definitely will go back to Tom Thumb, but I would dare say his is more ornate than P.T. Barnum's, because it has the actual sculpture of him atop it.
Yeah, the sculpture on top of Tom Thumb's is a life-size sculpture that was sculpted when he was still alive. So, which you won't believe it if you see it in person.
Yeah. But P.T. Barnum was, there were some dark parts of his life, and Andrew and I really went back and forth on who was going to say what and deliver some of these truth bombs about P.T. Barnum, because they're not easy to take. But I think it's important that we all know the whole picture, the good, the bad, the ugly, about everything in history. And it makes us appreciate things more, and it makes us see things more clearly. And so we really tried to give you as much as we could in a half hour or so, some highlights on P.T. Barnum's life, especially once he, we talk a bit about his early life, but we really focused a lot on his life, at founding the Barnum Museum, and then the traveling circus that takes on after that, and the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey, and that whole, everything that went on from there, and some of the tragedies that happened on his way to establishing this. One of the tragedies that happens posthumously years after his death is one that we want to go back to, that is pretty big in Connecticut history. So without telling you everything, there's a tragedy that involves the circus that we want to talk about with you in more depth in a future segment. And we will be going to a different location to talk about that. But P.T. Barnum, was a very interesting site. And it's funny, you know, I felt like he was watching us for sure, kind of almost walking back and forth as if he was, you know, telling us how to move and what to do. And I almost felt like I was more like a newscaster presenting dramatically than even my storytelling self sometimes. But I almost wonder if that was a push from him. There was a sense, right, Marty, of someone moving behind the stone.
Yeah, Barnum, that segment will not be the last you hear of Barnum. We've already discussed it, and I've already discussed this. The paranormal investigation part will be coming for that.
I mean, they even think, you know,
and a couple more locations, because where the Barnum Museum building is still there. We might try to work something out with them, and we'll probably show you a little bit on the street where the original American Barnum Museum was in New York. So
you'll notice, like in the video, I think a little bit of movement. We saw it behind us too, like I mentioned before. Marty told you there's going to be more on Barnum, but I think I don't know, it's interesting. Watch it, see what you think. Let us know if you haven't watched it already. Put it on your list, and we'll be sure to chat with you about it. And what's our last one? Oh,
werewolves.
Werewolves. So Spooky Story Sunday was our most recent segment, and we did it on the full moon, March 28th, the full worm moon, the first super moon of the year. And we got to thinking, actually, we started thinking about werewolves before we realized that our segment was going to be on the full moon. So it was all meant to be. It was all just, you know, fate playing her hand per usual. And we thought, well, surely, you know, there's werewolf lore everywhere. Surely there will be some in New England. But one of the first things you find when you go to find out about werewolves in New England is that there's not a lot about werewolves in New England. And we actually have a really big shortage of the lycanthrope lore here. A lot of it's out west or in Europe. We kind of have our black dog that can be measured in you know, parallel to the werewolf. But of course, just like with our Bigfoot segments, this dates back to Native Americans. So, you know, many segments ago, we did the Winston Wild Man, who was first sighted by Native Americans. And this is the same with the werewolf lore. The werewolf lore dates back to these stories of Native American, you know, well, not really gods. I don't know if they would call them that, but it's a legend about these two brothers, and one of them they would go on to worship, and the transformation. And what I think was most compelling about the werewolf segments to me is when we looked at the Native American legends, and then we looked at the Norse legends. They were very similar in the sense they were about being defeated by nature. That's the only thing that could defeat a werewolf. No person could, only nature could. And the stories of the werewolf were those of human.
Where were the plants?
Ferns.
Ferns in.
The other just said a wolf's bane can actually empower them, I believe.
I thought that was one of the ones that they thought that they could transform. The Indian thought they had it in their DNA. They had that, they would transform automatically.
I don't remember that, but you can go fact check us.
Yeah.
But I think the most compelling part was that it's about human nature, right? So in somewhat the story of, you know, Zeus punishing someone and making them a dog because of the sacrifice they made, and making them a wolf, and the Native Americans and the Norse all go back to, you know, and the legend of the Native Americans had to do a lot with these two brothers trying to take out each other and what choice they would make. The Norse was about these people that lived on the outskirts of their community who were allowed to be hunted like animals because they chose to be animals. So it was all about this choice, this behavioral choice. Do you honor the person inside you or the beast inside you? we are technically animals, but we are people with emotions and consciences and things like this. So with that being said, how do you set yourself apart from the animals that are outside in the circle of life and you as a person? And not everyone makes that choice. And, you know, a lot of cultures have had words and names and things like this for the people that don't make that choice. But in these legends, the people that don't make the choice to work on human consciousness, they become the wolf. And, you know, and the full moon fits because that's when everyone acts wild and a little bit more animalistic and a little bit, you know, more odd. And so of course a werewolf would get its beastly powers on the full moon. So I think that was, you know, interesting, is because in modern, you know, Marty's a big modern horror fan, and they never really show that, do they, Marty? They always show you getting bitten.
Yeah, we were reading that getting bitten doesn't necessarily transform you in these older stories. It's just you have to be born with it, and it's just they always make it more of a disease, or even with vampires or the werewolves or any other creatures that you have to get bitten or scratched, and it's a blood disease or just a disease that transmits between your bodily fluids or something like that. But that's a very modern take on a lot of these stories that we've been researching on, and all the old stories is like you're born with it, there's a gene for it, or one of the old gods turns you into it. So
I'm just going to interrupt and say that we have a hello from Jason Hoffman, who has actually joined us on some of our tours before. So I want to say hello to Jason. And also we have love and support from Long Island from Matthew, who says he's coming back on another tour to see us soon. So thank you to Jason and Matthew for your comments. We hope to see you soon too. And thank you for watching with us tonight. And hopefully this, you know, inspires you to go check out some of the things that we've been filming. We work really hard to think of, you know, anything that is going to, you know, inspire you to look to the legends and lore and history and mystery and make sure that everything we tell you is true. But we've gotten, you know, we're starting to look forward to it. This was something we started in quarantine to help entertain you, but we've actually really loved unearthing some of these tales. So take a look.
Any previews that we can get?
I will say the YouTube channel does have everything that we've started filming since last April. So it's been a year. Coming. Well, we kind of hinted at P.T. Barnum that's coming.
Yeah.
Oh, I will.
The video segments.
Yeah, that's coming.
Next one.
The next Cemetery Saturday could be in reference to the tragedy we aforementioned. But coming up next is Witchy Wednesday. So not this Wednesday, but next Wednesday. And it's a couple weeks before another chapter in the Turning of the Wheel. My favorite chapter in the Turning of the Wheel. My favorite one is coming.
And maybe even a little bit of more pirate stories coming up.
Oh yes. But my favorite wheel turn day, other than of course Halloween Samhain, which goes without, you know, saying it's everyone's favorite. But other than that one, my next favorite, probably one that I think rivals the power of Samhain, is coming up in less than a month, and we are going to be talking about that next week. No, don't tell them. See, he's a terrible secret keeper. He says to give you a teaser and then he tells you. I hope you didn't hear him. I hope you didn't hear him. But that's what's coming. Not what Marty said. Oh, well. Just listen to the teaser. Just listen to the teaser. My gosh, even at Christmas, you guys, he has to like tell me something that he got me before he gives it to me.
Surprise you anyway, so.
I do though.
You don't.
Oh my gosh.
You don't. She doesn't.
how we run this together as a married couple is nothing short of a miracle sometimes, but we love each other. And we love what we do. But thank you guys for tuning in for Mystical Monday. Make sure you send us any questions that you have for the next Mystical Monday. And anytime you watch a segment, if you have a question, even if it was a segment we filmed forever ago, let us know and we will make sure to include it on our next Mystical Monday as well. But have a great rest of your night, you guys. You can probably hear my peepers in the backyard now, making a lot of noise, but have a great rest of your night. And we will be seeing you next week for the turning of the wheel, not to be said by Marty again. And we will be seeing you next week for Witchy Wednesday. Bye, everybody.
Bye.